Deputies and 2 city officers have been shot.
It has to be more than 100 officers on scene.
You never know when you leave your home if you're going to return home. Those officers and deputies who are willing and have been willing and are continue to be willing to put their self in harm's way.
Pray for the family who lost the bravest police officer that I have ever known.
7 officers shot, and one of them, a Florence police officer, is dead tonight. We learned a short time ago that the officer who died is 52-year-old Terrance Carraway.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Let's Get Together and Meet. My name is Lakeisha Cribb.
And I am Gloria Brand. And we are joined here today with Miss Allison Carraway. Allison, we thank you for being here. We thank you for joining us. Allison, of course, is the widow of slain officer Terrance Carraway. And she's been sharing some things with us, and she is going to share how she is today. She calls it triumph, and I really think she has really come through this, and she's going to share a lot, and we're going to give her the space to do as she does. She's going to take us through what happened that day, some things of what happened that day, all the way up until now. So this day in October of 2018 was a day, as she described, like none other.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is my first podcast, I believe. I'm not quite sure. But yes, I am the widow of Sergeant Terrence Carraway, and he was slain October 3rd, 2018 in an active shooter incident where there were a total of 7 officers who were shot and 2 officers died. My husband being the one that died on the day of October 3rd. And the late Vera Turner passed away 19 days later, October 22nd. No one would expect for that to happen to them. And definitely my life has been turned upside down because of the tragedy. And yes, I did say triumph, but it's triumph through tragedy. It is an ongoing process. I will say that grief is it moves, it rotates. You know, there are several stages of grief, and you don't know what stage you may be in. But I have learned and prayed, and I know that grief should not be your destination. You should always go through it, and God will get you through it.
Yeah.
So it does have a lot to do with your mental health and your spirituality.
Amen.
And also being able to talk about it and express yourself. So that particular day was a day, a normal day. I was at the doctor's office early that morning for an appointment, and I left my phone at home. And anyone that knows my husband, he wants to make sure he's aware of his family, where they are and what they're doing by phone. And since I did not respond to his phone calls, the time that I got out of the doctor's office, I went by to grab some lunch from Hardee's and went on home, pulled in, and his car was there. And I knew, okay, yeah, I left my phone at home. And he came out the door like, where you been? He forgotten I had an appointment. And I told him, I said, I guess you missed me, huh? Our conversations were about retirement. He was actually getting ready to retire and filling out his application. He wanted some assistance, and I was able to do so. Keep in mind, we were married 29 years and knew each other for 35 years. So we were discussing the retirement application process while yet he was eating my lunch. He kept saying that we should both be on a diet, but he kept eating the lunch. The conversation didn't last no more so than an hour or less, but that was around noon. When he left, he said, just remember to keep your phone on you at all times. He said, you know what I do, because there are crazy people out here. And you don't know that that was a foreshadowing to what was going to happen just a few hours later. Which someone came to the door and told me that I needed to come to the hospital, that something had happened. They were very kind to me and did not explain anything other than that there was some type of shooting and something happened and I needed to go to the hospital, which we did. I'd heard nothing on the TV, radio, which I had all of those around me. And I remember calling dispatch, asking them why didn't they contact me, but they politely asked me to continue to the hospital, which I did. And after waiting for about, I don't know, 20 minutes, things started turning into what seemed to be a TV show, like a CSI or some investigative show. I just remember going to the emergency room and watching what they call a sea of blue, which is standing room only. The emergency room was full of officers. I don't recall who I saw, but it was just a sea of officers. And then after that waiting period, the doctors called me to the back to sit down, and they explained to me that my husband did not make it. That still left questions because I did not know why or what had happened. I was still not knowing anything. And the doctor just told me that he was shot right here. It still left me with so many questions, and the emotions started rolling, mostly anger because there was no definite information. Then I was able to get a little bit of clarity through the deputy coroner to explain what had happened. I was still upset, yes, but I wanted to see, because you have to see for yourself. I wanted to see my husband, and I wasn't allowed to see him that day because he was deemed as a part of a murder scene. So at that point, I just requested angrily to go home because I didn't want to see anyone else. I had to take that in and figure out what I had to do from that point. And so it took me a long time to even remember who took me home. But when I did get home, I do remember sitting in solitude thinking, what was I going to do? And asking God, what do I do? But I clearly heard him and my husband tell me that I have to advocate for them, for him. And I simply said yes. And from that point on, I started journaling, and I wrote the first thing in my journal, and it stated that my best friend just died.
So the initial day that the incident took place, you did not see your husband. How long was it before you were able to see his physical body?
We were informed that he had to go to Charleston to have the autopsy done. And I did not want to see TV or social media yet. A lot of my family members were informing me of what was going on. I kept in contact with the funeral home, and they let me know that I was able to, he came back to the funeral home around 3 p.m. that afternoon, the next day. And I immediately, we set out to go to the funeral home to see him.
So the shot in the shoulder, I mean, you hear so many stories, and like you, my immediate thought was, what happened here? That he passed away from a shot in the shoulder. Were you ever able to find out what exactly happened?
Yes, it took some time, but I was able to find out. Yes, because when you think a shot through the shoulder, you're thinking TV. It went straight through.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shoulder wound.
Mm-hmm.
Why would that cause death? It was at the angle at which the shooter shot my husband. He was on his side, which the bullet went in the shoulder, but down through the lungs, and it through the spine, and it took out a portion of his spine because it was a high-powered bullet from a high-powered rifle from over or close to 400 yards away.
And so that day was, of course, like no other day. And so when friends and family start coming together and filing in, and you're still trying to figure out, what's going on. Why is this happening? How is this happening? Oftentimes, friends and family, help us get through these things. What helped you immediately following having to go back home with no answers?
Definitely friends, definitely family, definitely praying to God.
Mm-hmm.
Although my questions were unanswered at the time, we had so many people to inundate us at the house. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I almost had to be cordoned off in a certain area so that I could get a breather. Mm-hmm. Tell me again so I can make sure I'm answering the question
properly. What helped you later on that night go home with no answers to what had happened to your husband?
My son, I do remember turning on the TV once that night, and it was about, 10 o'clock. And my son was still there. And I saw him on the TV screen talking to the chief, talking to other people. I said, look at my son. He's making sure he's already fallen into place. He's making sure things are done. He's like, where's my dad's book bag? Where's my dad's so-and-so? He's trying to get clarity on it. And he knew I needed it. So he stayed there. That, first of all, was just awesome.
That is awesome.
To see that and to know that. I have a large family. There were at the time 8 of us, 2 brothers and 6 girls, and my mother and father. So and we live on the same road pretty much. So my family gave me the strength, as well as Terrance's family. They were there for me, and we joined together. We linked automatically, and they gave me the strength to do what was necessary at the time. Our head, our leader of our family was gone. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I felt I had to take charge. And by them supporting me, that instilled in me the strength to do so and carry through.
And you certainly have taken charge. You've started foundations in his name. You are certainly advocating for him, and you are keeping his memory alive, as is a lot of people in some of the various communities that he touched. Can you kind of give us some background? Of course, we know he was an officer here in Florence County, was 30 years, getting ready to retire, but his span was so much greater than just Florence and Darlington.
He had a larger than life personality. His personality took the room up. Once you met him, he always wanted people to have joy, to smile. But he was deemed the gentle giant. And I agree, because if he had to admonish you, you would know. But by the end, you're hugging him. So that's the type of personality that he had. And his footprint was laid all over the area because he knew so many people in the law enforcement community and out of the community, as well as where he was raised in our hometown of Darlington.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also a retired veteran from the Air Force Reserve. So he knew people as he did his travels with the military.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would like, so everyone knows Terrence Carraway, the police officer. You talked about, I want to hear about Terrence Carraway, the husband and the father.
That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to introduce Terrence, the husband and the father, how would you describe that? Because everyone talks about Terrence Carraway, the police officer, but there was more to him than just that.
He was. He is. So there will be times that I do speak of him in the present because his footprint lasts in the children. He's the coach and the husband. But I knew that as the wife, I shared him with the community. I shared him with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I supported him in his job. So as a police officer's spouse or partner, you will understand that law enforcement officers are a different breed. And there is a way that our relationship bonded in a way that we understood each other. We knew when to just support each other and when we knew to give each other space. As far as a father, he was an awesome dad. And I wish my son was here to say that because my son is the epitome of his father. He rides with his truck. We have 2 trucks, and he rides with the truck with the picture of his dad proudly in the logo for our foundation. And when it became a little, the logo on the truck became a little blurry, and I told him, you need to take that down. He went to the place and got it put back up there, a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So he stands firm and proud to know that Terrance is his dad. But there's so many children that we have raised. So I only have one biological child, but there are so many kids that looked up to him as that father figure. And we still to this day have those kids, which are adults now, that still make sure and check on me and Rashad and things of that sort.
I heard you use the word triumphant. You said my tragedy, although I attained victory through tragedy. Explain that. What does that mean?
That's good that you said that because I did come up with that.
You did.
He has helped me become stronger. I will always be indebted to him because we grew up together. We met each other. I was 16. So we met each other as teenagers and we learned and we grew together into adults. We were friends, but we were also husband and wife. And through his death, he has strengthened me. He always was my cheerleader when I needed that support on my job, or if I had issues, as far as my job was concerned. He would give me, or he would help me, or motivate me, or strengthen me to do the things that I needed to do. Even though he's not here, he is still strengthening me. He is still motivating me. I can still hear him say, girl, you better go ahead and do that. Giving me that support that I need. And it will always be that way.
It'll always be that way. You are so deep into the social action side of this because of who he was to the community, who he is to you. And so can you tell us about the Terrence Carraway Foundation and some of the other foundations or things that you have going on linked with keeping his memory.
Okay. We knew the day that he passed away that we were going to establish a foundation. We automatically knew. So that was almost a consensus from the entire family.
Mm-hmm.
We had to continue his legacy. We knew it was strong, but we were going to establish the foundation because Terrance was all about service.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a person that he wanted to help everybody and anybody. So if a young child needed a tie for an interview or needed to want a tie, how to tie a tie, he was there to help that person. If an elderly person needed some aid, he would assist as necessary. We want to continue that service.
Right.
So we know it was selfless service. We know it was ingrained in him. And so we want to do that for the communities. We want to get through the noise of all of what might be going on with
Mm-hmm.
the current events
Mm-hmm.
and go back to the base of community. And that is what we do as the foundation. We do have special events and scholarships. We are still growing,
Mm-hmm.
but we continue to grow. And we do all of this in efforts to bring the community together.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening today, it seems to be separating the community. Our foundation is based on uniting the community, law enforcement, all first responders. And we do that through events, through special projects, and simply talking and fellowshipping together.
I heard that you said that through the foundation that you do things with young men. Is that correct? You see, you provide ties and different things. How can people sow into the foundation? How can people partner and give?
We have a website, and that is the tfcfoundation.com. And on the subtitles, you can support us in any way, whether you would like to volunteer or participate to help us in a project. If you would like to sponsor something, if it has a direct contact to me, because we're so small at this point, so I will be able to personally speak with you as far as assisting. Now, our foundation is not one that wants to separate and be spotlighted
Mm-hmm.
and shine. We don't mind helping other foundations. It's not to be showy. It's the purpose for what we're doing this for. We want the outcome to be a merging of the community.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is for us to work with another organization, we don't mind at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we will do in order to accomplish that goal.
Beautiful.
There's another side to this. So you go through the tragedy, then you have to start the journey of healing.
Mm.
And sudden death is hard. It's a process. It's something that's unexpected that you mentally, physically, emotionally have to process. How did you get to the place where, through grief, you knew you had to heal?
I can't say that it was one source. I will say that the day of when I started journaling, I felt a bit of release, that I was able to put down my emotions onto paper. Did not realize when I look back maybe a year ago to find some information that I knew that I put in my journal. I had about 12 books that I journaled in.
Wow.
And I actually had stopped for a few years and I just started back. Journaling is definitely a way of dealing with your trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to realize that we experience trauma. Outside help, therapy, resources for law enforcement families, we were able to research and be able to be a part of that And that helped us as a family to get through some of these hard times and to help us understand why we feel the way we feel, and that it's okay to feel the way we feel as long as we don't stay stuck in that particular place.
Right. Absolutely.
I can liken it to an example I saw on social media. It was an art exhibit, a live art exhibit, where this man was traveling up some stairs and he would fall on a trampoline. He'd have to get back up, maybe a little bit further back, but he kept traveling up those stairs a little bit further. He fell down. He got back up a little bit, but he actually made it to the top. And when he got to the top, he fell. And he had to start back from the bottom again, but he didn't stop. And that's a way that I kind of liken myself to how I make it through this process. Yes, I am human.
Yes, absolutely.
I have my dips.
Yeah.
I have my ebbs and flows. And I'm okay. And I understand that that's okay. And when you understand that's okay, I think it helps you to deal with it better and know that that's where you are at that particular point in your life.
Absolutely.
And so with the grief now that you're getting better and that things are, not as difficult as it was in the beginning, are you at home sometimes alone, and it's like, how does that feel knowing that after 35 years of being connected to this person that he is no longer there, of course, physically, but in your spirit? But how does it feel on the grief side, knowing that he's no longer with you, and how do you handle that?
It depends on where I am in my ebbs and flows.
Okay.
But my personality, I think I'm a sort of a bit of an extrovert and an introvert, so I'm an ambivert. Okay. I don't mind peace at home alone. What is important to me is my peace. And I have learned that that is very important for a person to have. So in the midst of the confusion, I know I can go home and have a little bit of peace. I know I can have peace in the midst of wherever I am at this point. But it is different for everyone. I have lost friends. I have lost some of Terrance's friends. They don't come as often or at all. Again, he was the focal point for everything in that house. And in my house, I have a lot of memorabilia from the services and everything that people mail to me. I don't have enough room at this point. I've actually remodeled my den, and so I'll be putting more things up of his that people sent from all over the world.
Wow, amazing.
And that is my tribute to him. Some people may feel a little uncomfortable, but I try to explain to them that there's nothing in here that would harm you. He would never harm you. This is my tribute to him. And that's how I just find my peace in that way.
There are other families that were affected by this. And there are other people who have been affected just by sudden loss. What would you say to them? How, what would be your first piece of advice that you would give them to start the journey of victory?
Talk about your loved one. Keeping it internal does not help. It is so healing, and it feels good to talk about the good memories, the bad memories, to talk about that person and to laugh about the things that that person did. I realized that early on, I didn't think that I could, having been raised in a strict family, but I'm looking at videos, I'm listening to text messages or, messages left, and I can laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought that forth to the family. Let's talk about him. It took a while to talk about that day, but every October 3rd, the police department always does a wreath laying ceremony for the officers for that day at the Florence Police Department. And we always go to the mausoleum and we say a few words and we talk. We talk to him. We go and speak to Farrah. But I was able to tell the family, we need to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought to ask them how they experienced that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so those things help us heal.
Are you in contact with some of the other officers' families that were shot on that day? And to what extent, if you can share?
We became a family that day. Even if we don't talk every day or months may pass by, we became a family. We are forever bonded in some way, shape, or form. Some I do talk to more than others. Miss Katie, Farrah's mom, she's an awesome person. She has a wonderful family. They do a lot in their foundation, the Farrah Turner Foundation, and as well as the other officers who were injured. And I feel like every officer who was there that day is a part of this. So they were affected. And I know they were because I've been with a police officer long enough to know how cops feel.
Yeah.
And I always like to make sure that they're okay, especially his squad. And I try to say a few words. And I have not done as well as I used to do because I was doing some healing. But I'm always in support of whatever they have going on. If they need my assistance or want me to be there, I'm there for them because that is a family as well. So yes, this thing will always keep us bonded. This incident, tragedy, will always keep us forever bonded.
But forever growing too, because you're doing so many great things.
Definitely.
And that's beautiful. We recently learned that the shooter recently passed away. I actually texted you on that day when I heard it on the news. I was like, let me text Allison. I didn't know what to say other than I'm thinking about you. But hearing that then and even now, where are you with that? How do you feel about that? I know that you're not one who is going to hold hate. We hate the situation happen, but where are you with knowing that he has passed on?
I'm a work in progress. I'm human. There's nothing that can bring my loved one back. His death didn't phase that one way or the other. What we need to focus on are the ones that are here, and we need to continue Terrance's legacy. So I'm not going to dwell on that because it doesn't faze me at this point. We knew, and as I said in my statement, when we were able to go to his sentencing, he had his destination determined when he put his hand on the gun. So I cannot give that energy towards there. I can give it to the foundation. And that's what I plan. That's what I am doing.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I just really wanted to thank you for even being willing to come and share with us, but also being willing to share your story. This is definitely not something that's easy to talk about or share, or even allow people into that personal space. And this, I mean, this is awesome. And I believe that this is going to help a lot of people. There are a lot of officer wives of police officers that have experienced this. And we pray that this will help them know and understand that there are other people that have experienced this as well, and that there are other women that are walking through this.
Definitely. And Allison, I love how you were so open to touch on, like, the mental health aspect of it, of, being able to grieve, being able to know that counseling is needed, being able to have your family with you and around you so that, they can help you through the rough times. And oftentimes people need to know those sort of things beforehand. We wait oftentimes when tragedy strikes to, seek help, seek professional help. But especially with being an officer, these are things that we need to know before incidents like this happen.
It is, this has taught me to love and live in the moment, be in the moment. It has taught me to encourage youth that they are strong. I don't want to discourage anyone. I want to help you. And that is anyone. And I always love to do things with the youth and let them know that they have everything and empower them. They have everything within them to be great.
Absolutely.
And that is something that we always did as when we mentor children and coach them, we instill that. And I still want to instill that in children.
And you certainly are triumphant. We thank you for coming. We thank you for sharing this story. The Terrence F. Carraway Foundation. Are you still doing Taste of Blue every other year?
We have a special year this year.
Okay.
We have the Terrence F. Carraway 5K coming up September 5th at the Darlington Raceway. This will be the 7th year.
Okay.
We had approximately 500 attendees last year, and that was putting us up high with the PD 5Ks in the area. So we want you to come out for that. And this year we will finally be able to say that our project, my project, the South Carolina Fallen Officers Memorial, will open October 3rd on the anniversary day.
Wow. Awesome.
It is a memorial in Darlington on Main Street and D Avenue, which will list all officers in South Carolina and K-9 that were killed in the line of duty.
Awesome.
So it's a place of respite. It's a picnic shelter. It's a place that the community can come together for any purpose. And that's what Terrance was all about, community.
That's awesome.
Right. So we have September and October to look forward to. We'll get more of that information. We'll link it. And we are, again, so grateful, so happy to have had you here today.
Thank you so much.
You made it very comfortable for me.
Yes,
Good.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Thank you. All right, guys. So this concludes
our 3rd episode of Let's Get Together and Meet. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Hopkins Jr. died at the age of 81 from what state prison officials are calling natural causes. Records show his health had been declining for some time now. In fact, according to inmate records, Hopkins was transported to outside medical facilities about 30 times over a 2-year period. The Department of Corrections says he had been housed in the prison hospital wing at MUSC Health Chester Medical Center since January 2025, where he was being treated for an extended illness. Hopkins was convicted in October 2023 of 2 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder after ambushing officers at his Florence home. He was serving a double life sentence. Investigators say deputies were attempting to serve a search warrant at the home tied to allegations against his son when they were met with gunfire, sparking a 2-hour standoff. Florence Police Sergeant Terrence Carraway was killed at the scene, and Florence County investigator Farrah Turner died weeks later from her injuries. 5 other officers were wounded but survived. I filed FOIA requests asking for more information regarding Hopkinson's admission and transfer to MUSC. We'll let you know when we hear back. Hopkins was also facing ongoing civil lawsuits connected to the shooting. Those cases had already been delayed due to his declining health, and it's unclear now how they will move forward due to his death. In Florence, Alexis Cooper, ABC 15 News.
Alexis, thank you. We reached out to Florence County Sheriff's Office for a statement. They told us they have no comment on the matter.